The world has a funny way of careening you toward a life of quiet desperation if you are not careful. If you've worked in healthcare for some time or even in the past couple of years, you've undoubtedly seen your friends or colleagues experiencing this. Heck, you may be living a life of quiet desperation right now. There's a powerful quote from Henry David Thoreau that opines that the mass of men lead lives of quiet desperation. Now, this small but powerful quote by Thoreau really encompasses a disturbing trend in medicine lately. So if you can relate to this, and I get it, but I can assure you, my friends, that it does not have to continue to be your reality anymore. And I want to share with you 5 powerful ways to avoid a life of quiet desperation. So you may be asking yourself, well, what exactly is a life of quiet desperation? Well, in Thoreau's book, Walden, he remarks perfectly when he writes, most of the luxuries and many of these so-called comforts of life are not only not indispensable, but positive hindrances to the elevation of mankind. Now, Thoreau argues, and I agree, that we live a life of quiet desperation when we attempt to fill it with things such as money, personal possessions, and the pursuit of accolades. Now, many scientists call this pursuit of more of a life of a hedonistic treadmill. And there are many parallels to this hedonistic treadmill in medicine that it's no surprise that many physicians and nurses live a life of quiet desperation, especially if you've been practicing long enough to accumulate personal possessions. So now take a moment to reflect on your trajectory in medicine. If it's similar to mine, it likely went something like this. So you knew that you want to enter medical school or nursing school relatively early in your academic career. And you likely did well in school and were nudged along to pursue medicine by your well-meaning teachers and maybe even your parents. And you became laser focused on that pursuit and doubled down on your studies, putting in more hours of research, more hours of preparation. And you knew that throughout high school and college, the prize was medical school or perhaps nursing school. And once in school, your competition increased. So you worked even harder to achieve the next stage, entering that perfect residency, followed by that prestigious fellowship spot. Now, after successfully completing that journey, you reach the mountaintop and you let out a big exhale as you've now reached the upper echelons of medicine as an attending physician or as a senior nurse or as a nurse practitioner. Now, quiet desperation, though, unfortunately leads to resignation. So after seemingly putting your life on pause for the better part of a decade, you reach this place of comfort and security and realize that you are not comfortable, nor do you have the sense of security, and wake up many mornings not even satisfied. So for many of us, we fill this void by gathering things. And as we collect more and more items, we still haven't found the satisfaction we promised ourselves when we reach this stage of our careers. So still not convinced, we continue gathering only to have work more, to gather more in this pursuit of this satisfaction. So when we replace our ideas of success, we resign ourselves to leading a life of quiet desperation. And this is a horrible place to be, but an oh so common place for many in healthcare. We see it every day, if not in ourselves, in our colleagues, and in our friends in medicine. Now, these individuals living a life of quiet desperation have become frustrated with the work, passive in their relationships, and apathetic toward reaching their goals. And many times they don't even have any goals. They've accepted and surrendered to their circumstances. So how do we do it? How do we overcome? How do we avoid living a life of quiet desperation? Well, the first thing is you have to stop comparing yourself to others. The single greatest step you can do for yourself today to be boldly brilliant in all that you do is to run your own race. An essential step toward achieving wellness and preventing burnout is recognized in living your internal scorecard. So when we compare ourselves to others, we usually compare the best of their traits to the worst of ours. And this simply is unfair, and we do this to ourselves constantly. Perhaps a colleague is better procedurally than you. Maybe a colleague is more efficient with documentation than you are. Whatever it is, ask yourself, am I comparing myself to a colleague to improve? Well, sometimes comparing ourselves to others is meant to motivate, but this behavior is often destructive, and you have to make sure you know the difference. Don't let other people's behavior drive yours. So really the best way to do this is to become a better version of yourself instead. The only game you can win is being a better you, a better version of you. And now map this out. What does this mean for you? Well, many times we compare ourselves to others but are unclear on our goals. take an honest assessment of yourself. And this might be hard at first, but when doing this, write down the attributes you are genuinely good at. Are you a good listener? Does working within a team make you more productive or not? Self-appraisal is a must when we are looking to navigate through life with purpose and with confidence. Now, this self-appraisal is not meant to highlight your errors or deficiencies, but to bring areas in your life that need correction and improvement. Now, it may be uncomfortable initially, but this is precisely what you need to improve your inner scorecard. Second thing, my friends, is to guard your mind against negativity. The world and the content that you consume are filled with negativity. When one thinks of current events, it is reported to you through a negative lens, focusing on the negative and ignoring the positive. You must guard your mind against this. Is it easy? No. But it is imperative to overcome living a life of quiet desperation. Remind yourself there is a positive in every situation. It may not be readily apparent, but it's there. You have to search for it. Some questions that can help you answer these or to ask yourself is, what's good about this? Or what can I learn from this? Or what can I do to make this situation better? Is there something that I can control here? Pause. Now, this is the key. Pause and train yourself to focus and accept what you can control, rather focus on what you can't control. And I'm often reminded of the Serenity Prayer, which was written by American theologian Reinhold Niebuhr, who helps me gain perspective and stay positive even amid a crisis. And it goes something like this. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And I always keep that in the back of my mind to remind myself of this. Make a conscious effort to focus on the problems you can control and develop ways to reduce those problems. This will put you in a more positive mindset. So here's a little bit of a pro tip for you to make sure you write this down. When thinking more positively, pay attention to your self-talk and your inner monologue. It is the awareness here that's the key. Simply writing down these thoughts will help you notice a pattern and the problem areas that you should work on. Now, once you're aware of this negative self-talk, I want you to challenge or to dispute those thoughts and reframe them consciously. Your goal is not to deny the reality of the situation, but to see the situation differently, in a way that serves you, in a way that helps you see the truth more accurately and act more rationally. So some ways to challenge those thoughts are to ask questions like, well, what's the worst that could happen here? What's the worst thing that realistically can happen? How bad would that be? Or what's the difference will this one-time event make in 1 month, 1 year, or even in a decade? Take it a little step farther and create a plan for responding better to the situation should it happen again. Third way to avoid quiet desperation is to avoid stasis at all costs. Stasis is a concept that we're incredibly familiar with in the world of medicine, and stasis in our personal and professional lives can lead to devastating effects. Avoid it at all costs. We can take a page from Jeff Bezos, where every day he says is day one. Now, the principle of day one has become almost folklore in the Amazon community, and he's been talking about day one since 1997, where he says the concept is so vital that many of the principles of day one can be used toward developing a path towards your wellness. Towards your wellness. So normally in the early stages of business, the startup is nimble, it's fast, it's efficient, and it's excited about the future and willing to take a level of risk and to go outside of its comfort zone. So even as they grow, successful companies maintain this day one mentality and avoid day two at all costs. So according to Bezos, so day two is the stasis, which begins the path toward decline and ultimately death. He says the outside world can push you into day two if you won't or can't embrace powerful trends quickly. If you fight them, you're probably fighting the future. Embrace them and you have a tailwind. So my friends, here's a little pro tip for this. Learning should be a lifelong endeavor, not something that ends at residency. There's an excellent story in Stephen Pressfield's book, The War of Art. If you've not read it, you must read it. He talks about the time when he finished his first novel. And at the time, Mr. Pressfield had multiple failures at completing this manuscript over the past 10 years. So he was so excited, he ran to his friend, who was his mentor, Paul Rink, who without even looking up said, good for you, start the next one tomorrow. The time to work on your next goal is not when you complete your current one, but when you're in the midst of your current one. So after you complete one goal, immediately begin the next one. No break. that will prevent your stasis, my friends, because our growth in medicine, really in life, and the antidote for burnout in our personal or professional lives involves our pursuit to resist the comforts of stasis. Push back on the ease of doing the same as you did yesterday. You've worked too hard and too long to languish in the pool of stasis. So get up and move, my friend. Celebrate even small milestones towards your goals. It's the day-to-day intentional acts that produce tremendous results. Fourth one, friends, invest in relationships, not tasks. So if the pandemic has certainly taught us anything, it's certainly impacted much of our personal and professional lives. And if you're like me, it may have created some additional stress, maybe some sleepless nights, a lot of introspection. And if you caught yourself stuck in a rut, the surest way out of it is your relationships. Maintaining a positive and supportive social circle is the key to your overall growth, mentally, emotionally, physically, and really professionally. The people that you surround yourself with have a direct correlation to your level of success. And they really have a direct relationship to your level of happiness. They greatly influence your view of the world around you and your view of success. When you surround yourself with positive, energetic people, you begin identifying with their version of success and their belief systems. Make time for each other, my friends. On a personal level, my wife and I connect daily, always. Now, as a couple, this is a priority for us. And for me, it helps me talk about my day and some of the challenges that I've encountered at work. For my wife, it gives her a sense of ease and understanding of the realities of my day in a busy emergency department. Now, for you, in our busy and archaic lives, we can sometimes get caught up in the to-do list and the mundane things, but we value and prioritize our connections with each other and have made a goal to connect daily and weekly when possible. Now, after the kids go to bed, our nightly talks are usually cups of tea, usually chamomile, and it's become a sense of comfort this past several years for us. But in addition to our weekly meetings, we plan for date nights when it's possible. The important thing is to make time for each other and consistently create rituals and opportunities to maintain your connection. It is so critical. But on a professional level, I make time to connect with a couple of my closest friends and colleagues. Now, at first, coordinating our schedule was really a bit of a challenge, but we prioritized and we started scheduling breakfast or even post-shift dinners weeks in advance. Do we have to get up early some days to do this? Yeah, we sometimes do. But once we got into this routine of regularly meeting with each other, it was something we just looked forward to. The key is to schedule it, my friends. If it doesn't get scheduled, it just simply won't happen. So you just have to get it scheduled. And the fifth and final way to avoid a life of quiet desperation, my friend, is to begin and end your day with gratitude. Expressing gratitude stirs positive emotions and creates the expectation that something good will happen, despite all the adversity that's going on around you. Many have heard the euphemism of count your blessings. This practice of being grateful for people and things around you helps change your mindset to focus on the positive rather than the negative that may be occurring all around you. So expressing gratitude makes us, as healthcare professionals, feel good, but it goes far, far deeper. As a grateful healthcare provider, your interpersonal relationships benefit as well. It enforces a spirit of teamwork, altruism, and recognition of others' contributions. Be grateful for simple things. Be grateful for your friends. Be grateful for your family, your career, your health. Do this privately and in your daily journal. Be grateful for things such as the smell of a crisp fall morning or the feelings you have when you have that first sip of coffee in the morning. Just give thanks. Gratitude may seem like a simple emotion, but harness its power. You'll be on the road toward better health, stronger relationships, and a view of the world that is filled with opportunities rather than obstacles. Dr. Robert Emmons, he's a psychologist and a leader in this. He's a professor at the University of California, Davis. I think it really says this perfectly. It is gratitude that enables us to receive, and it is gratitude that motivates us to return the goodness that we have been given. In short, it is gratitude that enables us to be fully human. So my friends, invest in yourself to overcome a life of quiet desperation. Why do so many of us quit pursuing our dreams when we know that we are capable of more? Ask yourself, do you feel that you don't deserve it? Do you feel that you are okay with where you are and don't want to tempt the fates to risk living a better life that you have crafted in your mind? So how much time do you spend on yourself? In the last 90 days, take a look. In the last 90 days, what have you read? What books have you read? If I ask you, how close are you toward achieving your goals that you've set for yourself for the next 6 months? Have you even started? How much time are you investing in yourself? If you're willing to commit yourself to yourself and do whatever it takes, you will propel yourself from a life of quiet desperation. There's something more for you, and I want to start encouraging you to do this. Change how you see yourself and tend to the things that will get you toward your goals. So friends, start today. To overcome a life of quiet desperation, we must always be moving. Avoid the siren song of stasis, for once we become comfortable with our current practice, or better said, once we accept our current circumstances, then the slow, painful decline of burnout begins to occur. Defend against this, my friend. So be boldly brilliant in all that you do. Hope you enjoyed this week's show. Please do me a favor, hit that subscribe button right below here and join us every single day as we talk about something similar. Have a great day, my friends. Talk to you next time. Bye-bye.